How did an unknown teenager from Lancashire, who was flat-out ignored by commercial FM radio, build a global of millions, shatter streaming records, and outperform chart-topping mainstream pop icons without a single traditional broadcast hit? In a multi-billion-dollar music industry where giant record labels spend fortune after fortune bribing network executives, paying for placement, and manufacturing overnight viral stars, one young vocalist proved that the old corporate playbook is officially dead. Most people in the business will tell you that if you do not have television moguls, radio programmers, and massive PR campaigns backing your every move, you simply do not exist. They will tell you that classical crossover music belongs in quiet corner stores and niche concert halls, not at the top of digital charts. But her story turned those long-standing industry rules completely upside down. She did not wait for permission from Sutan Thai executives. She did not alter her style to fit disposable radio trends. Instead, she bypassed every single traditional gatekeeper, took her music straight to millions of listeners worldwide, and built an independent empire on her own terms. But to understand how this quiet vocal sensation pulled off one of the most remarkable independent music runs in modern history, we have to rewind to the moment where it all almost fell apart before it even truly started. Long before millions of fans around the world logged on to hear her sing, Lucy Thomas was just a quiet girl growing up in Lancashire, England, with an extraordinary gift that nobody quite saw coming. She did not come from a family of famous musicians, nor did she have high-powered industry contacts pushing her into auditions. What she had was a vocal tone that was startlingly mature, naturally precise, and filled with an effortless emotional clarity that left listeners motionless. By the age of 13, while most of her classmates were focused on schoolwork and social media trends, Lucy was practicing classical crossover and musical repertoire, songs that demand control and power far beyond her years. Local audiences quickly realized her voice was rare, but breaking out of a local community into the national spotlight is an entirely different battle. In 2018, her family decided it was time to test her talent on the biggest stage available for young performers, The Voice Kids UK. Millions of viewers tuned in every week to watch fresh talent perform under intense pressure, surrounded by bright studio lights and celebrity judges. When 14-year-old Lucy stepped up to the microphone for her blind audition, the room went dead silent. The moment she hit her first sustained note, the judges turned their chairs almost instantly. Critics and fans across the country took notice. It looked like the classic beginning for an emerging star. But in reality, it was a setup for a crushing disappointment that would derail almost anyone else. As The Voice Kids UK progressed, Lucy consistently delivered breathtaking performances week after week. Her vocal control was immaculate, and audiences began viewing her as a frontrunner to take the entire competition. She seemed tailor-made for stardom, but reality television rarely follows a simple storyline based strictly on raw talent. When the semifinals arrived, the competition reached a razor-thin margin. The producers and judges had to make a choice about who to send through to the grand finale, and in a decision that stunned viewers at home and sparked intense debate online, Lucy was eliminated before reaching the final round. Just like that, her time on national television was over. For the vast majority of reality TV contestants, being cut right before the finish line is a career death sentence. The cameras pack up, the studio lights turn off, and the public memory fades within a few weeks. The temporary wave of television fame vanishes, leaving young artists stranded without a record contract or an active management team. Industry insiders quietly assumed Lucy Thomas would fade into background noise, returning home as just another talented kid who got close, but could not cross the finish line. But what those executives failed to realize was that losing on television was actually the best thing that could have ever happened to her. After leaving the television spotlight, Lucy and her family tried to figure out the next step. Naturally, The standard path for any promising artist was to pitch demo recordings to mainstream commercial radio stations and major label scouts. But when they approached traditional industry channels, they ran straight into a brick wall. Commercial FM radio operated under a rigid, unyielding formula. Airwaves were dominated by fast-paced pop music, heavily processed vocals, electronic dance beats, and high-energy radio edits designed for short attention spans. Program directors were obsessed with demographic formulas and corporate playlists dictated by major music conglomerates. A young singer dedicated to timeless ballads, Broadway classics, and soaring classical crossover melodies simply did not fit into their pre-approved boxes. Network producers turned her away. Radio stations refused to put her tracks into rotation, claiming there was no massive youth audience for classical crossover music on top 40 stations. It was a complete, silent blackout. Traditional radio gatekeepers effectively decided that her sound was not marketable to the mainstream public. Had she relied on the traditional music industry machinery, her career would have ended right then and there. But while mainstream radio closed its doors, a tiny independent setup was watching in the background, preparing to gamble on a completely different strategy. Recognizing that major labels were completely missing the mark, an independent label called Cavendish Records decided to step in. The team behind Cavendish Records, including songwriter and producer Chris Broom, saw something in Lucy that corporate executives were blind to: an authentic vocal purity that did not need aggressive studio pitch correction or fast-paced radio gimmicks to connect with people. Together, they made a bold, high-stakes decision. They would abandon traditional radio promotion altogether. They would not waste hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to bribe radio station directors or rent out expensive billboard space. Instead, they decided to publish her performances directly to the internet, taking her talent straight to the global public without any corporate filters. The approach was simple, understated, and completely counter to modern music industry habits. There were no flashing studio lights, no backup dancers, and no heavy special effects. It was just Lucy standing in front of a studio microphone, delivering emotionally raw, immaculate vocal takes. But operating outside the major label safety net was terrifyingly risky. Without millions of dollars in corporate marketing budgets, the vast majority of independent uploads sit on the internet completely unnoticed. For months, the view counts grew at a steady, modest pace. But then came a single upload that would break open the entire system. It happened when a video of 14-year-old Lucy performing's iconic ballad, Hallelujah, was uploaded to her channel. Up until that point, her uploads were building a respectable, quiet audience. But this specific performance hit a nerve in a way nobody could have predicted. Without a single dollar spent on radio airplay, mainstream TV ads, or corporate PR pushes, the digital algorithms picked up the video. Millions of people around the globe began sharing the link across social platforms. The view counter ticked up from thousands to hundreds of thousands, and then quickly exploded into tens of millions. Viewers in the comment section were completely overwhelmed, expressing relief at finding a singer who relied on pure talent rather than over-the-top studio processing and auto-tune. Her rendition of Hallelujah eventually surpassed tens of millions of views on its own, spawning a massive global movement of dedicated supporters from North America, Europe, Asia, and beyond. She was suddenly outperforming global pop stars in digital engagement without ever setting foot in a radio studio. But just as skeptics began writing off her massive breakthrough as a temporary viral miracle, Lucy and her team made a calculated move that doubled their growth almost overnight. To prove that her massive online explosion was not just a one-time luck strike, Lucy decided to introduce a brand new element to her studio sessions. She invited her younger sister, Thomas, to join her in front of the microphone for a series of duet performances. Was younger, but she shared the same incredible musical instinct and pitch accuracy as her sister. When the two sisters stood side by side to record timeless tracks like You Raise Me Up, In the Arms of an Angel, and Run to You, the chemistry was instant and undeniable. Their voices blended with a natural, genetic harmony that studio producers spend years trying to synthesize artificially. The duet videos went massively viral all over again, racking up tens of millions of additional views and pulling in hundreds of thousands of new subscribers. The dynamic between the two sisters gave the channel a warm, deeply personal feel that corporate record labels could never replicate. Viewers were not just listening to good music. They felt like they were watching two genuine, grounded sisters sharing their gift with the world. Studio executives who had previously ignored her were suddenly watching an independent teenager build a digital music power center right in front of their eyes. Yet, a new round of industry doubt began to surface. Industry critics and traditional music journalists, reluctant to admit they were wrong, started raising new objections. They argued that singing cover songs on the internet was fine for gathering views, but it would never translate into real album sales, long-term longevity, or a sustained musical career. They claimed that without traditional media backing, an artist could never build a legitimate discography. Lucy responded not with interviews or angry statements, but with relentless productivity in the studio. In 2019, she released her debut full-length album, Premiere. Rather than slowing down, she followed it up immediately with her second studio album, Encore, in 2020. Then came Timeless in 2021, Destiny in 2023, and Beyond in 2024. Album after album, her release schedule was relentless, precise, and executed with stunning consistency. Her physical CD sales skyrocketed, digital downloads topped crossover charts, and total channel views surged past hundreds of millions. Because she was signed to an independent label structure and owned her artistic path, she did not have to hand over 90% of her earnings to corporate executives. She maintained artistic freedom and built a direct, unshakable connection with her fans. But while her record sales were breaking records, she was quietly preparing her most ambitious, unpredictable move yet. By 2023, Lucy had accomplished what most mainstream pop singers could only dream of: a global audience, millions of dedicated streams, and financial independence. But she was not content with remaining strictly a recording artist who released covers and studio singles. She wanted to build something original that would stand the test of time. Instead of waiting around for traditional West End directors to offer her a role in an established musical, Lucy and her production team at Cavendish Records took matters into their own hands once again. They co-created a brand new, original musical project titled. Lucy took on the lead vocal role, helping develop the soundtrack and recording an expansive original studio cast album. The songs were sweeping, cinematic, and emotionally intense. To launch the project, she did not settle for a small local theater setup. In 2024, she walked onto the stage at the legendary Royal Lane in London's West End, backed by a massive 30-piece live orchestra. The girl who was cut from a TV show at age 14, the singer who was told her style was too niche for modern radio, was now headlining one of the most famous theatrical venues in the world on her own terms. The event was a triumph, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that her talent was not just a digital illusion, it was a world-class theatrical force. The story of Lucy Thomas is far more than just an inspiring tale about a talented singer making it big. It is a powerful blueprint for the future of the entire creative world. It demonstrates that in the modern digital age, old-school gatekeepers, radio programmers, and television executives no longer hold total control over who gets heard and who gets ignored. By staying true to her musical style, trusting her audience, and leveraging direct digital platforms, she proved that raw talent and consistency will always beat corporate marketing budgets. She built a global career without altering her voice, without engaging in fake industry drama, and without playing by the old corporate rules. As traditional radio stations continue to lose ground and digital media reshapes how we discover music, her incredible journey stands as a warning to the traditional entertainment industry. It forces us to ask one final, unavoidable question. As artists realize they no longer need traditional media to conquer the world, how much longer can traditional gatekeepers survive before they become completely obsolete?